So imagine you finally get off this, like, 2-year wait list for a world-famous, eccentric tattoo artist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you know the type. They specialize in these hyper-realistic, emotionally complex portraits. You are paying absolute top dollar to get this memorial piece inked on your back.
Right.
But when you show up to the studio, the master artist just isn't there.
Uh-oh.
Instead, it's their apprentice. You know, the kid who usually just fills in tribal armbands. And they're holding the needle, ready to go, and they look at you and tell you, hey, don't worry, the shop is still honoring the contract.
That's a terrifying scenario. Legally, you're looking at them thinking, wait a minute, I didn't hire the shop, I hired you.
Exactly. It's deeply personal. Usually when we talk about signing contract, there's this expectation of total clarity. You shake hands, sign on the dotted line, and you know exactly who is going to do the work.
Yeah, you'd think so.
But when you step into the actual world of contract law, that certainty gets a little blurry. So welcome to this deep dive into contract law. We're looking at a fascinating and honestly incredibly common legal problem today. Basically, when you sign a contract with someone, under what circumstances can they just, hand off their duties to a total stranger? What happens when a party argues, I didn't hire them, I hired you?
It is a brilliant question, and answering it really goes to the very heart of how modern commerce functions. So today, we are going to look at the foundational rules of assignment and delegation.
Okay.
We'll explore the specific personal services exception.
Just like that too thing, right?
Exactly, which is what saves you from that apprentice.
Yeah.
And we're going to model a step-by-step elemental analysis of the landmark case, the Macke Company v. Pizza of Gaithersburg, Inc. We'll use that to show exactly how courts draw the line between a routine delegable duty and a non-delegable personal service.
Awesome. Well, let's start right at the foundation. Can you introduce the foundational concept of delegating contractual duties? Because my gut instinct is that if I sign a contract with you, you have to do the job.
It's a very common assumption, but the law actually takes kind of the exact opposite approach.
Weird, really?
Yeah. The baseline concept starts with the general rule, and that rule is, in the absence of a contrary provision, rights and duties under an executory bilateral contract may be assigned and delegated.
Okay, so just freely passed off.
Basically, yes. But there is a massive catch. The exception is that duties under a contract to provide personal services may never be delegated, nor can rights be assigned where delectus persona...
choice of person.
Right, choice of person. Where delectus persona was an essential ingredient of the bargain. If they hired you for your unique genius, you can't just pass the buck.
Okay, I think I'm tracking. So let's transition to testing this rule using our primary case. Let's analyze the Macke Company v. Pizza of Gaithersburg, Inc. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
Right, so we've got 4 pizza shops, and they contracted with this mom-and-pop outfit called Virginia Coffee Service to install and maintain cold drink vending machines at their restaurants.
Like soda machines.
Yeah, exactly. The contracts were for 1 year, automatically renewable. But then Virginia Coffee Service sold its assets and assigned these contracts to a giant corporate entity called Macke.
And the pizza shops weren't happy.
Not at all. They tried to terminate immediately. They argued they specifically relied on Virginia's personalized service. Virginia's president literally fixed the machines himself.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and he paid the machine commissions in actual cash, and he even let the shops keep the keys for minor adjustments. The contract text itself, however, merely required the company to install the equipment, maintain it in good operating order, and keep it stocked.
Okay, so the written contract was super basic, but the real-world service was very personal. And what was the core legal issue?
The precise issue was, did the vending machine contracts impose duties of a personal or unique character, meaning personal services, such that Virginia could not legally delegate them to Macke?
What rule of law did the court apply? Please state the full black-letter rule and break it down into its testable elements.
Right, so the rule is that contract duties are freely delegable unless they fall under the personal services exception, and that exception has 2 main testable elements.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, does the contract require a rare genius, extraordinary skill, or unique taste? And second, would performance by the delegated party vary materially from the performance expected from the original party, per Restatement of Contracts, Section 163.
Thank you. Now for the court's elemental analysis. Let's walk through this step by step. How did the court apply the first element, requiring rare genius, extraordinary skill, or unique taste?
Well, the court pulled in this great older precedent, Taylor v. Palmer, and they formulated a sub-rule. They said, look, Not all painters paint like Sir Joshua Reynolds, and not all writers write like Shakespeare.
Right, those are the rare geniuses.
Exactly. Contracts for their work are deeply personal and non-delegable. But, and here's the flip side, digging a sandhill or building a brick sewer is purely mechanical.
Ah.
So, applying the facts here, the court found that installing and stocking a cold drink machine is akin to digging a sandhill. It is mechanical work. It is absolutely not a rare genius situation. Therefore, this first element for the exception is not met.
Understood. Now, what about the second element, material variation in performance? Because, I mean, paying in cash versus getting a corporate check feels pretty different.
It feels different, yeah. But under Restatement Section 163, delegation is only invalid if performance varies materially in a legal sense. The pizza shops argued Virginia's service was highly personalized with the cash and the president fixing things.
Right.
But the court applied those facts to the contract's actual written requirements.
Right.
And the contract was totally silent on how the machines were fixed or how the commissions were paid. It just said they had to be maintained and paid.
So the vibe changed, but the actual contractual duty didn't.
Exactly. The court concluded the difference between Virginia's style and Mac's expected service did not mount up to a material change in the contractual obligations. Therefore, the second element for the exception was also not met.
Wow. And after analyzing all the elements, what was the court's final conclusion?
The court held that the duties were not personal services. The delegation from Virginia to Mac was entirely permissible, and the lower court's judgment in favor of the pizza shops was reversed. Mac won.
That is wild. But I want to push back a little here. I want to look at the cases the pizza shops used to defend their position and the cases the court used to establish the exact boundaries of this rule. Because there has to be a limit.
Oh, there definitely is.
Let's test those boundaries. Let's look at Case A. Let's analyze Eastern Advertising Co. v. McGowan Co. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
Okay, so an advertiser entered a contract with an advertising agency to place ads in streetcars. Crucially, though, the written contract contained a specific provision stating that the advertising cards were subject to the approval of Eastern Advertising Company as to style and contents.
Style and contents, got it. And what was the core legal issue?
Very simply, could the advertising agency delegate its duties to another agency?
What rule of law did the court apply? Please state the full black-letter rule and break it down into its testable elements.
They applied the personal services, or delectus personae, exception. The key element here is, does the contract's language import a specific reliance on a party's unique skill, judgment, and taste?
Thank you. Now for the court's elemental analysis. Let's walk through this step by step. How did the court apply the first element, reliance on unique skill, judgment, and taste?
The court looked directly at the express contract language demanding Eastern's approval of style and contents. Applying this fact, the court found this explicitly proved the advertiser relied on the unique taste of that specific agency. It's subjective, it's artistic.
And after analyzing all the elements, what was the court's final conclusion?
The court concluded the duties were personal and non-delegable. They could not just pass the contract to a different ad agency.
Okay, so artistic taste crosses the line. What about money and trust? Let's move to Case B. Let's analyze Arkansas Valley Smelting Co. v. Belden Mining Co. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
This one is fascinating. It's a contract for the purchase of lead ore. And it stipulated that payment would be made after delivery based on an assay.
That's a test of the ore's purity.
Right, an assay to be performed by the specific individual purchaser named in the contract.
So I give you the ore, you test it yourself to decide what it's worth, and then you pay me later.
Exactly.
And what was the core legal issue?
Was the contract for the purchase of ore assignable to a different smelting company?
What rule of law did the court apply? Please state the full black-letter rule and break it down into its testable elements.
Again, the delectus personae exception. The element they tested was, did the contract impose confidence in an individual's specific credit and responsibility?
Thank you. Now for the court's elemental analysis. Let's walk through this step by step. How did the court apply the first element? Confidence in credit and responsibility.
Well, because the payment happened after delivery, and because the price was determined by a purity test performed by that specific purchaser, the court reasoned that the seller was placing immense trust in the honesty and financial credit of that specific person.
Yeah, I mean, a stranger could totally lie about the purity test.
Exactly.
And after analyzing all the elements, what was the court's final conclusion?
The court concluded that the rights and duties could not be transferred to another party. The assignment was completely invalid.
Okay, so financial trust is highly personal. Let's try one more to really cement this. KC. Let's analyze British Wagon Co. and the Parkgate Wagon Co. v. Lee & Co. First, what are the legally dispositive facts?
Here, a lessor of railway cars agreed to keep the cars in good and substantial repair. But the lessor assigned the contract to another company. The lessee immediately tried to terminate, claiming that the duty to repair the cars was personal.
And what was the core legal issue?
Is a contractual duty to repair railway cars a non-delegable personal duty?
What rule of law did the court apply? Please state the full black-letter rule and break it down into its testable elements.
The court applied the general rule of delegation. The element here is there a provision making the performance of a duty personal to the promisor or their specific employees?
Thank you. Now for the court's elemental analysis. Let's walk through this step by step. How did the court apply the first element, a provision making performance personal?
The court searched the contract and found absolutely no provision demanding that specific persons do the repairs. And applying the facts, repairing railway cars is standard mechanical work.
It's a sandhill.
Exactly. Much like maintaining vending machines, it doesn't require unique genius.
And after analyzing all the elements, what was the court's final conclusion?
The lessee remained bound. The repair duty was freely delegable.
Now, wait a minute. What if the customer just genuinely hates the new company? Because I recall there being this older, heavily criticized case, Boston Ice Co. v. Potter, where a guy canceled an ice delivery contract literally just because he didn't want a specific company thrust upon him.
Yes, Boston Ice. The court in that old case actually sided with the angry customer. But it's critical to know that the court in our main Macke case explicitly rejected the logic of Boston Ice.
Really?
Yeah. Modern authorities say that a customer's personal prejudice doesn't matter. They require an actual material variance in performance. You can't just say, I don't like you, so the delegation is void.
Wow, okay. Commerce marches on.
It really does.
All right, I want to use some truly unforgettable, visceral hypotheticals here to really test your memory of the Taylor v. Palmer Shakespeare versus Sandhill dichotomy.
I'm ready.
Okay. Hypo 1. You contract with an underground biohazard and septic disposal company to pump raw sewage out of a massive overflowing city cesspool.
Oh, gross.
Oh, yeah, it's disgusting, high-stakes work. Can they delegate it to another licensed sewage company? And Hypo 2, going back to our intro, you hire a world-famous, eccentric tattoo artist known for hyper-realistic, emotionally complex portraits to ink a memorial on your back. Can they delegate the work to an apprentice who usually just fills in tribal armbands?
Okay, let's apply the elements to the hypos. Analysis 1, the sewage pumping. It's incredibly gross, yes, but it is fundamentally mechanical. It absolutely does not require rare genius. It is just the modern equivalent of digging a sandhill or building a sewer. As long as the new company is licensed, it is freely delegable.
Makes sense.
But analysis 2, the tattoo artist. This person is the modern Sir Joshua Reynolds. The contract relies entirely on unique skill, judgment, and taste, that delectus personae we talked about.
Right.
Furthermore, the performance of the apprentice would vary materially, so absolutely non-delegable.
I love that. So we've covered a ton of ground today. Could you synthesize this entire module into a step-by-step diagnostic checklist for the listener, something they could literally use on a law exam?
Definitely. Here is the 4-step framework. Step 1, identify the executory bilateral contract and spot the exact attempt to assign rights or delegate duties.
Got it.
Step 2, check the exact language of the contract. Is there an express anti-delegation clause? If there is, stop. If not, proceed to step 3.
Okay, and step 3.
Analyze the nature of the duty using that Shakespeare versus Sandhill test. Ask yourself, is it a mechanical routine task like stocking vending machines or fixing railway cars? Or does it require rare genius, extraordinary skill, unique taste, or specific financial credit, like the Eastern Advertising or Arkansas Valley cases?
Right, the subjective stuff.
Exactly. And finally, step 4, evaluate restatement section 163. Would performance by the new party vary materially from the performance legally required of the original party? And remember, mere stylistic preferences like getting paid in cash don't count.
That is incredibly clear.
Thanks. But, I do want to leave you with one final provocative thought to ponder.
Ooh, okay.
As we move into an era of advanced artificial intelligence, what happens to the personal services exception?
Oh, wow.
Right. If a contract requires the rare genius of a human copywriter or a painter, but an AI can suddenly execute the task with zero material variation in quality,
Oh, my gosh.
does the legal definition of delectus personae survive? I mean, if a machine can paint exactly like Sir Joshua Reynolds, is genius still non-delegable?
That is going to keep me up at night. If the sandhill can write like Shakespeare, what does contract law even do?
Exactly.
Amazing. Well, we will leave you all to mull that over. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.